let's talk about when to use Apex. So the first thing that is written over here is to perform a couple of business processes which are not supported by workflows or process builders. So as I explained you yesterday, that we can do some automation with the help of Apex triggers. But when to do that? When we are not able to do that thing with the help of workflows and process builders and approval process, right? So if we are not able to do something with that, we can use Apex classes or Apex program. We can write Apex program, and then yeah, I mean, we can just create that particular class. That's one reason. Like number two, to perform complex validation over multiple objects. So when you create validation rules, there is a problem, and let me tell you what that problem is. You can only validate the data from that particular record. What if you want to check that whether there is another record which has got the same data or not on that same object? Or what if you want to check that whether there is, so like let's say if I'm creating a new student, I want to check that whether there is a lead already in existence by the name, by that same name and by that same email. Can I do that with the help of validation rules? No, because on validation rules, all what you get is the field values of the record that you're trying to save, nothing else. If you want that, then in that case, you'll have to write the Apex program, or you'll have to write the Apex class, right? Next, create web services and email services. I mean, up till now, we have already talked about APIs and integrations and things like that, things of that nature a lot of time. And whenever you want to create some API, or whenever you want to integrate it with another platform, we'll have to write down the Apex class, right? Then the next, for transactions and rollbacks. So have you guys ever heard about transaction and rollback? What is that? Yeah, what it is used for? Exactly. Yeah. So there are 5 steps that come in combine are needs to be executed in order to do a particular task. What, like we have successfully executed 3 tasks, but now there are 2 tasks in which I'm getting an error. So in that case, what I want is these 3 tasks should also get undo, or should also be undone, or yeah, I mean, shouldn't also affect the database. So in that case, what I can do is I can just roll back the transaction that I've done from with my database. One of the Mhm. With the help of transaction control and rollback. So you just need to make a save point before creating those 2 records, or before the uh, steps, or before the instructions to create those new records. And if the Java Web Service is giving you an error, then just write down rollback to save point 1 where you have saved it, and then it will be rolled back. Whatever changes we have made into the database, that will be undo. Is that clear? So because of all of these things, we need to write down the Apex programs or Apex classes or Apex code. Next, flows of action, very important. Let's talk about it. Flows of action. So in flows of action, we are gonna understand. Okay. So in flows of action, we're gonna understand how the flow of an Apex program goes from the developer to the Salesforce servers, and from the end user to the Salesforce servers. So like, if we are a developer, we are writing down the code, we are saving that code, it goes to our servers, and then what happens? We do not know anything about it. So that is what we're going to understand now. So have a look. So this is the force.com platform, right? In this force.com platform, let's see what all is there. There's one application server, right? And in this application server, there are 2 things: Apex compiler and Apex runtime, that we can call as interpreter as well, right? So Apex compiler, what is it? What is the job of a compiler? Or what is a compiler? What is compilation? That's all what a compiler does. Okay, so it depends on the programming language to programming language, what is the job of a compiler. But normally what happens is that whenever we write down any code in a programming language, we compile it in order for it to be saved, or in order to get the executable format of that particular code. So when we compile the C program, what do we get out as an output? The object class. When you compile a C program, you sure about it? Exactly. He's absolutely right. .exe file, executable file. Right? When you compile a program in C language, you get executable file, directly executable file on your Windows, or if you're using a Linux, then Linux. In Linux operating systems, executable file, that's .rpm. But if it is Windows, then .exe. And like, what if you compile a program in Java? .class file. So .class file contains the bytecode that further needs to be interpreted by the Java interpreter, right? So this is different for different programming languages. Let's talk about what goes in Apex, or how it works in Apex. So in Apex, the compilation process and everything is similar to the compilation process in Java. The moment when a developer, so here's a developer, by the way. So the moment a developer saves a class, that class, it goes through the internet to the force.com platform, and inside that force.com platform, it goes to application server, and in the application server, it goes to Apex compiler. Now this compiler's job is to basically compile the class into a compiled Apex form that we can call as that executable Apex or compiled Apex. That is what we call over here. In Java, we used to call it as .class file or bytecode. So we can call bytecodes as well over here. But yeah, it's not technically the term that is used in Apex. It is the technical term which is used in Apex is compiled Apex, right? So when you pass a particular Apex class or Apex program through a compiler, you get compiled Apex. And when you get compiled Apex, when there is no error in that particular program. If there is an error, the compilation process will not be successful, and the compiled Apex will not be formed, and it will go back through the internet to the developer. See this. So uncompiled class is coming from here and going to Apex compiler. Apex compiler, if there is an error, sends back to the developer user without saving it into the data storage. Is it clear? Okay. Let's say that there are no errors in the Apex program that we have created, and it gets compiled. Now this compiled Apex will be stored into the data storage as an Apex class, right? Compiled Apex class or bytecode format, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, when you execute, so like once you've compiled that class, now you want to execute that class. So whenever an end user, so end user is who? Exactly, active users who are using that application, which requires that Apex class or Apex program to be executed, right? So those end users request for that class to be executed. That request goes through the internet, and then it goes to the force.com platform. And inside the force.com platform, there is application server which handles that request, and which after handling that request, gets the compiled Apex from the data storage and pass it to the Apex runtime, which then interprets it and sends the result back to the end user who has requested for that class to be executed. Is it clear? So it's simple, right? Let me explain it to you once again. So there is a developer user who's writing the code and sending it to the Apex compiler. With the help of Apex compiler, the program gets compiled and it's stored into the data storage. And when an end user requests for that class to be executed, it goes to the application server's Apex runtime. It then fetches the Apex class, and this Apex runtime executes or interprets that Apex class and sends the result back to the end user. That's how the flow goes. Is it clear? Very simple, right? Now let's talk about end user action. So I think we've already discussed developer action as well as end user action. So the end user requests the class to be executed or the program to be executed, and it goes to the application server, and then the Apex runtime fetches the compiled Apex and executes it over there and sends back the result to the end user. Is it clear? Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is about the flows of action in Apex. Is it clear?